Hey y'all, I'm Tracy with Just Dig It Farms. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this Sunday afternoon in the garden. Today I want to introduce to you guys a wonderful little plant that Jean and I discovered when we were in Costa Rica in 2017. This is Moringa, or also known as the tree of life or the miracle tree. If you've been following us very long, you know that Jean and I both have jobs outside of the farm. And Jean works in the corporate world. He's a salesperson. So in 2017, he made President's Club and he won a trip to anywhere we wanted to go. They gave like a trip allowance. So we chose Costa Rica. We've always wanted to go to Costa Rica. It's one of the places that's on our bucket list. It was an amazing, wonderful trip of a lifetime. We had so much fun, so much adventure. We stayed in a little tree house in the middle of the jungle. It was called Casa Silva, which means jungle house. And it was so cool. It really was a tree house in the middle of the jungle. So we'd wake up early in the mornings and go out on our little porch, and our porch was like eye level of the treetops, the canopy of the trees. And we'd wake up to holler monkeys and little white-faced monkeys out there, and beautiful birds and amazing colored butterflies. It was just amazing. It was so neat. We love hiking, and like waterfalls are our thing. So whatever trip we're on, wherever we go, we always plan out hikes in search of magnificent waterfalls. So every day we hiked somewhere to some amazing waterfalls in Costa Rica. And Jean is a lot more adventurous than me. When it's possible and when he's able, he'll just dive in. Me, on the other hand, I like to stand on the sideline and photograph the waterfalls. And another thing that we always like to do is to search out some farms to tour and to visit there, to experience the culture there and to experience their food and how they grow food and their local food that they eat. Probably about 6 or 7 years now, I've been on a quest to learn all I can about permaculture and sustainable gardening and farming. So we found 3 different places that we visited when we were in Costa Rica, 3 different permaculture farms and communities. The very first farm that we visited was on the Osa Peninsula, and it was called Finca Morfo Permaculture Farm. And it was really, really a neat experience. When we first got there, the owner of this very free-spirited little farm gave us a tour of the whole 9 yards. They had hydroponic system going in a greenhouse. They had an edible forest. They had a lot of natural buildings that they had built, like adobe style. Just a lot of different things going on out there. But as he was giving us this tour and walking us through the edible forest, telling us about all these awesome edible plants that I had never even heard of, the floor of the edible forest was just growing with what looked to us to be a weed, but it was not. And he kept picking it and eating it and chewing on it as he was walking through. And so we both asked, what is this plant? And that's when he introduced us to Moringa. So he started telling us about how it's so high in vitamins and nutrients and antioxidants, and it's like one of the highest vitamin content greens that you can eat. He told us it's a tropical plant. It's hardy to zones like 9 to 10. And of course, I'm zone 8 and was thinking I can't grow it, but I figured I could probably grow it in a controlled environment in a greenhouse. And I was going to search out this plant. This was going to be one that I was going to discover more about. After he gave us the tour of the whole farm, then they served us lunch. We were invited to come have lunch with them. And the whole meal was everything from the garden, the edible forest, different fruits, exotic fruits that we've never had before. It was just amazing. But on their salad and on the main entree of the meal, moringa was on it. And he told me that they eat that with every meal in some way, that they have moringa with every meal because it is so high in nutrients and vitamins. While we were there, we visited 2 other permaculture farms and communities. But I'm going to tell you, Finca Morfo was top of my list as one of the best things that we did on that trip. And it wasn't only because we discovered this awesome plant here, but we got a lot of inspiration from there about different things that we wanted to do on our farm. We had just purchased our land here right when we took that trip. We already had a vision for this place. We already knew what we wanted to do. We had all of these ideas and all these different things we wanted to do, and just wasn't really sure about how we were going to tie it all together, how it was all going to synergistically work, and exactly what we wanted to do. So when we were on that trip, not only did we gain knowledge about some plants that we didn't know about, and we gained inspiration, but I also gained some purpose. They had like this little hut type building that they had built, and it's where they taught classes and different things. And they had a bunch of hand-painted signs like all over the little hut. And one of them said, "What is your purpose?" At that point in our life, we were in a new season of our life. My youngest son was going to college. You know, we were empty nesters. We just purchased our farm, our dreamland. We had all these ideas and dreams and visions of what we wanted to do on a new path that we were going with our life and with our future. And you know, it was just a different season that we were just entering into. And I was kind of on a quest of like, what is my purpose now? What direction am I going in? What's my path here? I've got all these ideas and dreams and visions of what I want to happen and what I want to do with the rest of my life. But how do I tie all that together? And how does it all connect? And that's kind of like where I was, like trying to find some answers. And when I saw that sign, it just pierced my spirit a little bit. And I took a picture of it and I kept it on my phone, and I still keep it on my phone, and I pull it up quite often, and it just kind of reignites me a little bit. But as we were traveling back from that farm, traveling back to our little tree house, I was having this conversation with Jean, and you know, talking about how it inspired us and different things that, you know, we weren't so comfortable with at the farm, and how we wanted our farm to be and what we wanted to do with our farm, and God's purpose for us, its purpose for this land and this farm that He's given us and blessed us with, and how we were going to honor Him with it, and what our goals were for this next season of our life. So as I'm talking to Jean and just rambling all these things out and just spilling my dreams and my guts and my questions and my uncertainties and all of that, Jean just turns his head to me and says, "That's it. That's your purpose. You're a garden permaculture missionary." Well, I just started laughing because, you know, he's a funny dude. He's always, that's his goal in life, is to keep me laughing. But the more we talked about it, and the more he kept saying that, and he was serious, it was like, that's it. You're right. I mean, that's my purpose for this next season of my life. Gardening and sustainable farming and permaculture, those are my passions, something that God's put in me. And God wants me to use my passions and my abilities and my talents to honor Him. And that's what I'm trying to do. So on that day, in that Jeep trip back from the Osa Peninsula to our little jungle tree house, a seed was planted in me. And when we got back home from that trip, I started pursuing this YouTube channel because I sincerely feel like with all of my heart that this is something I'm supposed to be doing. I know that this video is supposed to be about Moringa, and I've went off on a tangent about my purpose. But the day that I discovered this tree of life, this miracle tree, is also the day that I discovered my purpose for this next season of my life. So I felt like I needed to share that with you guys. I feel like that there's probably somebody watching this video that you're in a different season in your life. Maybe your children are gone, maybe you've retired, maybe, I don't know. I just feel like that there's probably somebody out there that you're stepping into a new season of your life, and you're wondering what your purpose is, what you're supposed to be doing with this next season of your life, or even the rest of your life. What are you supposed to be doing? Because we all have a purpose. I'm 100% confident in that we all have a purpose. There's a reason why every single one of us are on this earth. We all have something to contribute. There is something that every one of us have within us that can help somebody else. And I believe that we're doing a disjustice to God, and we're doing a disjustice to ourselves if we do not first find out what that purpose is, and second, pursue it with everything that is within us. So I just want to encourage you today that if that's you, don't be discouraged about this new season of life that you're in. Embrace it. Seek God. Find out what it is that He wants you to do with it, and whatever it is, if it terrifies the heck out of you, if it scares you to death, if you feel like you can't do it, do it. Go for it. Just go for it. Try it. Whatever it is, just try it. Just go for it. Pursue it with everything that you got, and go for it. Okay, so now let me tell you about Moringa, this miracle tree of life. When we got back from Costa Rica, I knew that I was going to figure out everything that I could about this wonderful plant. And I looked it up, and I started researching and learning about it. But later on that year, we went to our local farmer's market, and that's when I met Rosica. And y'all have met her a couple of times. She was on our last Sunday afternoon in the video. We did a little tour at her greenhouse. If you haven't seen that, go back and check it out. But she had a moringa tree, and I was like, yes. Jean was so excited, so we got one from her. Well, I grew it through a whole year, through a whole season. I brought it into my garden shed. I kept it alive. And then I found this past winter, when I was ordering my seeds, I found some moringa, some dwarf moringa seeds from Baker Creek. So I ordered some, and I grew some, and that's what all these are, was ones that I grew from seed, and it grows really easy. So ever since we got back from Costa Rica, I've been growing it and incorporating it into our diet, and learning what I could about it. Like I said earlier, it's hardy from zones 9 to 10, so it's not cold tolerant. So you could grow it a couple of different ways. If you're not in a zone 9 or 10, you could grow it in a pot like I've been doing, and just take it inside during the winter time. You know, inside of a garden shed or a greenhouse, and even inside your house in a sunny window, you could do that. Or you could just decide that you're going to grow it as an annual crop, just like you would your tomatoes or your cucumbers. You're just going to grow it as a summer annual crop, because they do actually do better in the ground. I mean, they can grow as much as 20 to 30 feet in one season in the ground. Now, these varieties that I'm growing here, it's a dwarf variety, so it's not going to get that big. But the moringa tree, it can grow anywhere from 20 to 30 feet tall in one season. That's amazing how fast it can grow. So you could grow it as an annual crop. And this is something that I am going to try next summer. I'm going to take a designated area. I might even do like a raised bed, I'm not sure, but I'm going to do a designated area, and I'm going to get my little seeds, and I'm going to plant them about 4 to 6 inches apart, because you can plant them pretty densely, and just let them grow as an annual crop. And then I'm going to harvest all that I can in that one season and put it all up to use throughout the winter. But I'm also going to keep growing some in a container and keep it in my garden shed, and keep some in the house. That's how valuable this tree is to me and to our diet. Moringa is an ultimate superfood. It's super, super high in antioxidants and vitamins and nutrients. In fact, it is really used effectively in third world countries to combat malnutrition. They use it a lot in Africa and Ethiopia, and a lot of very poor, poverty, third world countries. That's why it's called the miracle tree, or the tree of life, because it is providing nutrients for a lot of very poor, unhealthy people. They're growing this for a number of different reasons. It's super easy to grow. It grows very well in bad soils, sandy soils. It's drought tolerant. It's heat tolerant. It's really easy to grow. It grows very quickly, and it's so high in all the nutrients and antioxidants. So it's really, really effective in combating malnutrition. It's also, as a garden companion, it is a great fertilizer plant. This is another one of those great plants that has a deep taproot, and you can chop and drop it and add the nutrients right back to your soil. A lot like comfrey and borage and yarrow. It has that deep taproot, and it's an awesome fertilizer plant for a companion in your garden. One thing to remember about when you're growing this plant is not to baby it too much. Just leave it alone and it'll grow stronger. When you first plant it, of course you got to water it to let it get established, but once it's established, you just leave it alone. And in fact, the more drought that it experiences, the deeper that taproot will go and the stronger that plant will be. That's one of the beautiful things about why they're using it and growing it in these third world countries, is because it doesn't take all this water and all this care. It can strengthen itself and be strong enough to grow on its own. Another great thing about this plant is you can use every part of this plant edibly and medicinally. So the root, you can make a tea out of it, but it kind of has like a horseradish type flavor. You can take the trunk and like scrape the trunk. This one's not old enough yet, but you can like take and scrape the trunk and make skin products out of it. You can eat the flower that it produces or make teas from it. The seed pods can even be eaten. You make like long seed pods, and you could even cook the seed pods and eat them, or you can eat them raw. The leaves is the most common part of the plant that people consume. It actually has the most nutrition in it. And you can just eat those fresh. You can just walk by, pick them, eat them fresh. You can put them in, toss them in salad, however you want to eat them. You can eat the leaves just like you would spinach or lettuce or whatever. But you can also dry the leaves and then powder them, grind them up and turn them into a really fine powder and add them to smoothies or oatmeal or yogurt, because it's just like a superfood for green smoothies. You can buy powdered moringa and add it to your smoothies, or you can grow it and take these leaves and dry them and just grind them up in like a coffee grinder or something to a real fine powder, and then just add it to your smoothies, which is what I'm going to try. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm gonna do that this year. Before the end of this season, I'm going to strip almost all my leaves off my plants, and I'm going to dry them and put them into a powder form so that I can add it to our smoothies. And this stuff is like super highly concentrated, so you don't need much. All you need is like a teaspoon a day to get all these wonderful vitamins and nutrients. So what I've seen recommended most is to start off with a teaspoon a day and then work your way up to more if you need more, but always start out with just a teaspoon a day because it is super highly concentrated. Now here is a really cool way that this plant is also used. The seed. The seed is actually full of oil, and you can press the oil from that seed. And what they do in third world countries, and I just found this pretty miraculous really, when you press the seed and you get the oil out of that seed, that like the seed chaff or whatever that's left over of the seed hull, or I don't really know the right term, but what's left after you press it, you can take that and put it in water, and it actually purifies the water. I watched a documentary on it and how they use it for nutrition, for malnutrition in third world countries. When I saw that, that was just like so miraculous to me. I mean, that is amazing. No wonder this plant is called the tree of life, or the miracle tree. I mean, that is miraculous. What an amazing tree to have in a poverty-ridden country of malnutritious babies and people, to have all this nutrients in this one plant that grows easy in terrible soil and droughts. You can eat it for all your nutrition values, and it can purify the water. I mean, that is just amazing to me. That makes me want to go back to all the places that Jean and I have been. We used to be mission leaders, and we would take teams to all kinds of different places throughout the world on mission trips. And everywhere that we took teams on like medical missions and vacation Bible school. We did all different kinds of things. But everywhere that we went, we always did a garden project, because that's my passion. And we just always found a way to do a garden project wherever we went. This right here makes me want to go back to every place, every village that we ever went to, and make sure that they have this growing in their gardens. I mean, it really is just amazing. Okay, I have to give you guys my disclaimer spiel. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a pharmacist, I'm not a certified herbalist. I'm just a gardener who is sharing with you knowledge that I have learned from my own personal research. So please do your own research before you try anything that I'm recommending or suggesting to you. As I've said quite a few times already, moringa is a super food. It's high in vitamins, nutrients, amino acids, protein, antioxidants. It's just truly a superfood. On a documentary that I watched on moringa, the doctor on the video said that moringa is about as close to a perfect source of nutrients as she could find. Let me just read to you some of the benefits of this moringa plant. It is antimicrobial, antifungal, antibacterial, so it helps fight infections. And you can find these stats all over Pinterest and the internet. But it has 4 times more protein than eggs, 3 times more potassium than bananas, 4 times more calcium than milk, 4 times more vitamin A than carrots, 7 times more vitamin C than citrus, 4 times more fiber than oats, and 25 times more iron than spinach. That is amazing. It's a great source of a leafy green vegetable protein, lots of vitamin A in the leaves. So if you are on a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet, this is a super high source of protein. It also helps your body to be able to absorb nutrients. Just like the pH of the soil in our garden, if it's not right, you can add all the fertilizer, all the nutrients you want to, and if the pH isn't right, it won't absorb those nutrients and take them and give to the plants if the pH isn't correct. Same thing with our bodies. If the pH in our body is not right, we can take all the vitamins and supplements we want to. But if the pH in our body is not correct, then it's not able to absorb those nutrients and take them up. And we as Americans in general have a very acidic diet. But the wonderful thing about this moringa is it aids in helping your body to be able to absorb nutrients. That alone is pretty powerful. So let me tell you some of the things that moringa can help you with. It helps with anemia. It can help to lower your blood sugar, your cholesterol, your blood pressure. But everything that I've read says to be very careful if you're on medications for those things, because it could lower it too much by taking this. In fact, studies have shown people coming off of their medications when they've incorporated this into your diet. But please remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you to stop taking your medications and start eating moringa. I'm just telling you what I've read and what the studies have shown. But if you are going to do this and you're taking medication, please be very careful with it, that you don't take too much of it and it lower you even more. It helps your body to absorb iron. It helps with eye health, with kidney health, helps with asthma and allergies. It helps with stomach issues and digestion issues. It helps protect the liver, protects and nourishes your skin and hair, makes your bones healthier. It helps with arthritis and inflammation problems, helps with depression, anxiety, fatigue. It helps in fight infections, and it helps with mental clarity and energy. Moringa is also a very good fodder plant for your animals, like your chickens and dogs and goats and all your animals, because it's so high in nutrients. It's just a really good plant to give your animals as well. Moringa is just an overall awesome superfood. Now, we can't talk about a plant without talking about the history of that plant. Moringa dates back as early as 150 BC. It was recorded of kings and queens using it to help with mental clarity, alertness, and energy. It's also recorded in history of Romans and Greeks using moringa for different purposes. But one of the most interesting things that I read about moringa in history was over 2,000 years ago, the ancient Mauryan warriors of India, that's the warriors that rode on elephants. They fought on elephant back. They were given by the people fed them a moringa leaf extract before going into war. And this gave them confidence and bravery and helped them to be relieved of the stress of going into war. And it also helped with pain relief when they would get injured in the war. I thought that was pretty interesting about moringa. I don't have a whole lot of leaves to harvest from my plants. I've got about 5 plants in a pot, and I've been growing them over behind my garden shed in a shady area, and they really like sun better. Plus, we've also been eating on them a lot. We just walk by and pinch them and eat them. And I don't have a whole lot of leaves to harvest, but I am going to go ahead and harvest some today, and I'm going to dry them, and then I'm going to grind them up into a fine powder with my coffee grinder and have it to just be able to put in my smoothies. So I'm going to harvest those leaves today and get them dried, and then next Sunday afternoon when we get together, I'm going to show you how I do that. Thanks for hanging out with me today, y'all. I hope this video was informational for y'all. I hope you learned a lot about the moringa, and I hope that you try to grow it and add it into your garden and incorporate it into your diet. I also hope that this video was encouraging for all of you who are going through a new season in your life. I pray that you find purpose, and I pray that you find adventure and joy in every day of your life.
Just dig it.
Catch y'all on the next video.